Hi, welcome everyone. Oh, it's so lovely to be here with all of you. As always, I love to know where everyone's coming from, so please say hi where you are. I am Stefanie Goldstein. I'm a clinical psychologist and mindfulness educator and the co-founder of the Center for Mindful Living, along with Elisha. And wow, there's a lot going on right now, huh? How's everybody doing? Even if you want to just briefly say in the comments, kind of taking the temperature of where you're at, how you're doing, how you're feeling. It's a big, big, big time. And let's see who's here. We have Silvana from Niagara Falls, Rivka from Jerusalem, as always. Welcome, so good to see you. Kelly from Santa Margarita, Emma from the UK, Jill from Phoenix, Marilyn from Tennessee, Robin from Los Angeles, Nan from Venice, Deb from Delaware, Washington, Reno, New York, Canada. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, and we have South Wales, UK, Carl, Germany, Christina. I love it. I love having all of us here together. So for those of you that are not in the United States, bear with us because we are, as I'm sure you know, have our general election on Tuesday, although many people have voted before. My family and I voted yesterday, which was really a wonderful experience. We walked right in. There was no lines. There was plenty of volunteers. Everyone was super helpful. It was really great. And our kids got to help us vote, which was, as always, really awesome. So I can see that, feelings are a little bit all over the place for all of us, and rightfully so. This is an intense time. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about how we can navigate this, not only Tuesday, because we don't even know if we're going to find out the results on Tuesday, but how we can navigate our stress and our discomfort and our fear as we continue to move through this time. And so I was recently listening to, I love Brené Brown. For any of you who don't know who she is, I highly recommend all of her books and her podcasts. And so she has a great podcast called Unlocking Us. And I love to see who she's interviewing. And there was this recent interview that I listened to with these two twin sisters, and Emily and Amelia Nagasaki, I think. I hope I'm saying it right. I forgot to look that up just to confirm. But they wrote a book called Burnout. And it's actually specifically about burnout in women. But some of the things they were saying I really resonated with. I knew to be true from my own training and experience in psychology. And I feel like actually really can be so important for all of us to consider and remember. So this is what I want to talk about before we get into the meditation. So very quickly, and this is super important, when we have an emotional experience, all emotional experiences have beginning, middles, and ends. Often what happens when we experience burnout is we get stuck in the middle. We get stuck in the middle of feeling the emotions and not actually passing through them. And so that's what I really want to focus on today. So when we have a stress response, when we have an emotional response, it's physiological. And I think by now, most of us, because I'm assuming most of you are adults that are listening, have the felt experience of that, right? When you have an emotional experience, you literally feel it in your body in some way, in some capacity. And so when we can look at our emotional experience as a physiological experience, then we can start to realize we also need to feel and pass through our emotional experience in a physiological way. And so often what we think is that our stressors are causing our stress. And when those stressors are gone, the stress will be gone. So if we take the elections, for example, on Tuesday, which is causing many of us a lot of stress, and emotions. And I would say, regardless of who you're voting for, because I have seen it on both sides, emotions are really high, stress is really high, fear is really high, that the idea is that if your candidate wins on Tuesday or there shortly thereafter, the stress will be gone. However, it doesn't work that way, because our experience of stress is physiological. No matter the outcome, no matter the stressor, whether the stressor is removed or not, the stress still lives in us. And that's what we can work with. At this point, if you have exercised your right to vote, there's not a whole lot you can do about what the outcome is going to be. And this is true for most things in our lives. Right now, we're talking about the election specifically, but it's true for most things. Aside from the small amount that we have control over, which is our own empowerment and how we show up in the world, there's not a whole lot we can do about the outcome. So we have to work with our own stress response and how we can show up and what we can do. And so when we get stuck in that middle of that emotion, that's when burnout happens. And I think that's what so many of us are feeling, because between COVID and the elections and the social justice issues and all of our own personal struggles, we are all so burnt out. And so we really have to pay attention to how are we managing our own stress, and how can we on a physiological level complete the stress cycle so that it's no longer living in us and that it doesn't become toxic and poison and make us sicker. And so there's really, and this is what they were talking about in their book, there's many different ways to do it, but the two most important ones that I really want to focus on today is the breath and physical activity. And of course, we all know this, right? These are all obvious things, but I really want you to hear me, and I really want you to take this in and let this be your practice. Slow, long, deep breaths, preferably through the nose, although I like to sometimes, for the first couple, inhale through the nose and audibly exhale just to kind of have some initial release, but then really slowing the inhalation through the nose and really slowing the exhalation through the nose, because we're trying to calm the nervous system. Because when we get activated, when we have that emotional stress response, our nervous system speeds up, our breath speeds up, our heart rate speeds up. It's if you imagine our veins like a hose, there's a nice steady flow that goes as the blood pumps. But when we have that stress response and our cortisol is released and our, I can't think of the other word right now. I'm sorry. It's like you've just turned the hose on full blast and it's just kind of exploding your veins. And we can handle that for about, 10, 20 minutes to get through the crisis. But what happens is we forget to turn it off. We forget to turn it down. And so that's where the physical activity can also come in to literally release it. Sometimes this is shaking, and I have done this myself many times when I've been in a stressful situation. After the fact, I will literally shake it out. It could be going for a run. It could be dancing. It could be doing jumping jacks, push-ups, a brisk walk, just letting your body move in a free flow movement. It doesn't actually matter. What matters is that you're moving your body, you're getting your heart rate up, you are literally discharging the stress. And so as we move into relating to this stressor, which right now is the election, but it could be anything, I want you to really keep in mind, how are you relating to the stress? The stressor we don't have control over. But the stress in our body, how we think of it, how we experience it, that we can work with. The automaticity of it just happens. But then getting stuck in it, that's the piece that we can work with. And so using your breath, and if you need to slow your breath down 1,000 times each day, do it 1,000 times each day. If you need to excuse yourself and go to the bathroom or go in your backyard or wherever to not feel silly and move your body, do that. but really think about how is stress living in my body and how can I complete the stress cycle so that I'm not making myself sick. I'm not hurting myself worse than the pain that's already here. How can I tend to my own vulnerable, loving heart? Whew. Okay, so that was a lot of information packed in a very short amount of time. And so just take it in, let it seep in whatever way. If you have questions after the meditation, please feel free to jot them in the comment box and I'll try and stick around and answer those. But for now, let's see if you can just let all that information just wash over you. As we begin to shift from our thinking minds into our bodies, I invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. If not, just find a place to gaze softly. And we're going to begin by taking a few of those long, slow, deep, nourishing breaths. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Inviting yourself to arrive in this moment, in this body. And then taking the next few moments to check in. Notice if there's any areas or places where you're holding stress or emotions, where you might be stuck in the middle of that stress cycle. And we often are, even without being aware of it. And some places that we most often hold our stress is in the furrowed brow, the jaw, the shoulders, constriction in the chest, activation in the belly, tightening the muscles of the buttocks. And so just doing your own check-in, maybe even clenching the hands. And see if you can begin to bring the breath to these stuck, tight places. Breathing in, counting to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And holding the breath. Sipping in just a little bit more. And slowly releasing to a count of 6 through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And taking the next couple of minutes and working with your own breath silently, tuning in to your body, to your emotions, tending to your own self lovingly and with compassion. All of these tight places are moments of suffering. Love them, be soft with them, invite them to slowly melt and release. And see if the next breath can be a little slower and a little deeper. And if you're noticing thoughts or fears, just notice, thinking, worrying, planning. Just let the thoughts come and go, and lovingly invite the attention back to the breath. Imagining your nervous system calm and at ease. And even if it's not, holding that as an aspiration, as an invitation. And celebrating and honoring, even if you were able to calm the nervous system even 5% more than it was moments ago. We are not looking for perfection. Breathing in and breathing out. And if it feels right, I invite you to place a hand or two on the heart. And if that doesn't feel right, perhaps there's somewhere else on your body in which it would feel loving and nourishing to have a gentle touch, trusting your own inner wisdom. And silently sending yourself these wishes. May I be free from suffering. May I know grace and ease in my bones. May I not let myself be driven by fear. May I trust in my own inner knowing. And checking in with yourself now, seeing what you need to hear. And again, trusting your own inner wisdom and allowing your heart to open to receive these wishes. And now returning to the breath once again. Breathing in, nourishing, loving, peaceful breath. And breathing out and releasing and letting go of anything that no longer serves you. And so if your eyes were closed, gently opening your eyes, allowing your body to stretch and move in whatever way it so desires. And my greatest wish for all of us is that we navigate this upcoming week and months with a greater sense of groundedness and ease and compassion, both for ourselves and each other, and that we always lead with kindness. Because something I have seen more than anything is that we are each struggling on this journey of life, now more so than ever. And politics can divide us, divide families, divide our own hearts. And so may we know peace and ease and grace and kindness and compassion. And thank you all so much for joining me today. As always, we're here almost every Sunday. And I really appreciate it. And if there's any questions, feel free to type them in. You all are so welcome. It's truly my pleasure. And if it's helpful, this will be, it's posted on Facebook, so you can rewatch it as many times as you need. I'll also see if we can get it onto YouTube. I think we can, and send it out, because I know we all need this now more than ever. Oh, hi, Julie Goldsticker. That's so fun to see you. Hi. Okay. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best.